Hello Gaudi and welcome to this week's English lesson. You are very lucky this week and last week you had both Mrs. Gabella and I every day on a school day. So this week I'm going to do the English and Mrs. Gabella is going to do the maths. So it's Monday the 11th of January. Let's recap what we did last week. So last week you orally, that means you verbally, retold the story map of Bob the Man on the Moon, and then you wrote out the story map and you were focusing on using capital letters and full stops accurately. In this lesson, you're going to continue to use capital letters and full stops accurately, but you're going to focus on a piece of writing that's got all the capital letters and full stops missing. So before you start, you need either a whiteboard and pen or you need a pencil. If you haven't got these, pause the video here to go and get yourself organised. Right, here is a passage. A passage is it's a paragraph with writing and it should contain sentences, but this one doesn't. There are two capital letters and full stops missing. So the capital letters we can write in later, but here are our two full stops that we're going to place in this piece of writing. So have you got your listening ears on? Here we go. Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning and makes a cup of tea for his breakfast. After that, he goes out to work on his bike. Right, that was a long one. So this should be two sentences. So we know that a sentence ends with a full stop, so we can pop the first full stop at the end of the sentence. What do all sentences start with? Pause the video to have a think, or you could talk to your teddy while I find my pen. Here we go. I'm going to have a purple polishing pen, a capital letter, so we can cross Bob out, cross the first letter of Bob out and put in a capital B. There we go. So we've got one capital letter and one full stop. We now need to work out where the first sentence is. Let's read it again. Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning and makes a cup of tea for his breakfast. After that, he goes to work on his bike. That's rather a long sentence. Let's take this full stop and think, where might it go? What does Bob do? Bob wakes up at 6. So we could say Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock. Let's put it there. Let's try. Here we go. Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning and makes a cup of tea for his breakfast. After that, he goes to work on his bike. I don't think the second sentence works. So Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock. That's a full sentence. However, the second one doesn't, which means that we need to move that first full stop and have a think, where else might it go? Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning. Oh, that makes sense. Let's move it to the top and put it here. Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning. Thumbs up. I think that sentence makes sense. Now let's check. Does the second part make sense? And makes a cup of tea for his breakfast. After that, he goes to work on his bike. Well, we're starting the sentence with an and, so we know that's not going to make sense. And when we say and makes a cup of tea for his breakfast, doesn't. So we're going to move it again. I'd like you to pause the video here and have a think, where might you put the first full stop to make the first sentence? Right, here we go. We've got Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning, and what does he do? So we need that and for the first part of the sentence. Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning and makes a cup of tea for his breakfast. Right, let's try this after breakfast. Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning and makes a cup of tea for his breakfast. After that, he goes to work on his bike. I think we've had a success there. Let's get our pen out and see where we are going to put in the second capital letter. Full stop after breakfast, capital letter for after. Here we go. Bob wakes up at 6 o'clock every morning and makes a cup of tea for his breakfast. After that, He goes to work on his bike. Full stop. There we go. So there are 2 capital letters and 2 full stops. Let's have another go. At lunchtime, Bob sometimes meets his friends, Sam and Billy. For a picnic, they like to tell jokes and talk about the stars. Now, that definitely needs 2 capital letters and full stops. So the first thing we're going to do, we know, on your board, can you write the word that needs the capital letter? Pause the video to take your time. Which word needs a capital letter? That's correct. At. Cross out at lunchtime. And we're going to pick our full stop. Here we go. Where are you going to put the first full stop? Last time we started at the end, but let's see if we can put it in, put the first one in and make the first sentence before we have a look at the second. At lunchtime, Bob sometimes meets his friends Sam and Billy for a picnic. They like to tell jokes and talk about the stars. So the first idea is about Bob at lunchtime meeting his friends. And the second idea is what they do. So you know that telling jokes and talking about the stars is very different. It's a different idea to when he's sitting with his friends and having a picnic. So I think the first full stop is going to go in the third, and I'm just going to underline it for you. I have a feeling it's going to go in this line here. Where do you think the full stop might go? Pause the video to have a think. And can you write the word? And you don't need to write the whole sentence, just write the word and the full stop afterwards. Right, pick up your capital letter, a full stop even. At lunchtime, Bob sometimes meets his friends and Sam and Billy for a picnic. Let's see if this works. At lunchtime, Bob sometimes meets his friends Sam and Billy for a picnic. They like to tell jokes and talk about the stars. Now, if we covered up the first sentence and we just read the second sentence, let's see if it makes sense by itself. They like to tell jokes and talk about the stars. That makes sense. So our second full stop goes at the end here. Our first full stop goes after the word picnic and at the end of the passage here, the paragraph here. Have we finished? No. What's missing? Our second full stop, our second capital letter. And remember, our capital letter follows a full stop. Right, let's change the pen. So we've got our full stop here, cross the lowercase t, and remember our capital letter needs to be larger than our lowercase letters. Let's double check that we've got everything. Capital letter. At lunchtime, Bob sometimes meets his friends Sam and Billy for a picnic. Full stop. Capital letter. They like to tell jokes and talk about the stars. There we go. I think we can move on. One more to go. Again, this one's got 2 capital letters and 2 full stops missing. Start again. Before Bob leaves to go home, he packs away all his equipment and switches on the moon's light. Then he jumps aboard his rocket and jets off home. Oh, that was a long sentence. So, what does Bob do? He goes home. Before he goes home, he packs up all his things, turns on the light, and he goes aboard his rocket ship. So as he's packing away and before he leaves, what does he need to do? Because that's your first idea. Okay, so he's leaving to go home. What's he doing before he goes home? Pause the video to have a think. What's he doing before he goes home? That's correct. He packs away his equipment and switches on the night light. They're the 2 things he does before he goes home. So we know that our first full stop is going to go somewhere after he's completed those tasks. But before we put that capital full stop in, what do we need to do? That's right, our capital letter, capital B. Remember, capital B is larger than our lowercase. Now, I want you to pause the video and I want you to have a little think here. You can talk to your teddy or you can put your thinking brain on and think, where are we going to put the first full stop? Where are we going to put the first full stop? And remember what we spoke about, that before Bob goes home, he packs away his equipment and he turns on the light. So he needs to do those things before he can go home. And when he goes on his rocket, that's the second idea. Right, here we go. Before Bob leaves to go home, he packs away all his equipment and switches on the moon's nightlight. Then he jumps aboard his rocket and jets off home. Where do you think it might go? Let's put it here. Does this make sense? Before Bob leaves to go home, he packs away all his equipment and switches on the moon's night. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Let's move it across. Oh, not the writing. Here we go. Let's move the full stop across. Shall we try again? There. Oh, no, I'm going to pick this one up and I'm going to move it. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to move this full stop here and let's put the writing back. Never mind. Here we go. Before Bob leaves to go home, he packs away all his equipment and switches on the moon's light. Then he jumps aboard his rocket and jets off home. So our second sentence is, then he jumps aboard his rocket and jets off home. And we can finish it off with our second full stop. Right, I think there's something missing. Can you tell me what's missing? That's right, the capital letter. So we need our pen out. And Mr. Watkins did tell me how to do this. There we go. Before Bob leaves to go home, he packs away all his equipment and switches on the moon's nightlight. Finish with a full stop. Cross out the lowercase t and the larger case T, capital letter. Then he jumps aboard his rocket ship and jets off home. Now, here are your challenges. Challenge 1. Here is Bob. We've got Bob with the first picture of Bob. What's he doing? What's the second picture? And what's the third picture? You've got 3 sentence starters and it's Bob can. What can Bob do? We look on the other side, we have 3 options. Bob can clean, Bob can eat, and Bob can drink. We'd like you to match up the sentences. So looking at the first picture, what is Bob doing? Is he cleaning? I don't think so. Is he eating? No, I don't think he is. Is he drinking? I think he might be. He's got a mug of coffee or a tea. So you're going to write, Bob can drink. And remember, what has Mrs. Jalaf left out this time for you? Yes, you need to add your capital letter and your full stop at the end of the sentence. So remember, when you're writing your sentences of what Bob can do, Bob can eat, need a full stop and a capital letter. Bob can clean, remember your capital letter and full stop. And Bob can eat, capital letter and full stop. Challenge 2. This is what we had done, the activities we completed earlier. So you've got 2 capital letters and 2 full stops in, and you need to copy this passage onto a piece of paper and upload it to Tapestry. Bob went to the shops to buy chocolate toffees and a newspaper. When he got to the launch pad, he changed into his moon suit. So don't forget, there are 2 ideas. What did he do at the shops? And what did he do at the launch pad? A little clue for you there. Challenge 2. There's a second one for you. Again, you've got 2 capital letters and 2 full stops missing. The aliens like to play hide and seek in the crater. Bob searches for them with his torch, but he never finds them. So what are your 2 ideas here? So what are the aliens doing and what is Bob doing? Okay, so there's some clues for you there. Right. Challenge 3. Here we go. Your challenge is to write a paragraph. You can have 4 sentences, but if you think you need 5, go for it. Now, there's a little competition for you. If you use a capital letter and a full stop, you get 1 point for each. So if you use a capital letter correctly, you get 1 point. If you use a full stop correctly, you get another point. If you use a conjunction in your writing, you get 2 points. If you use an expanded noun phrase, you get 3. And commas in a list, 3 points. I wonder if you can get the highest points possible, and I'll show you what I mean. When you've finished, you need to check how many points you've got. If you think you can add more, then edit your writing. And do you know what Mrs. Jalaf has done? She's got a piece of writing, and it's all about Bruce. If you're lucky, you might get to see him at the end of the video. Now, with this one here, you've got Bruce. I'm going to read it to you. I have a pet dog called Bruce. He's a sociable and playful dog. When he is bored, he brings his ball to me so we can play. He wags his long fluffy tail to show everyone that he's excited. Some of his favourite treats are carrots, dog biscuits, and he most of all adores peanut butter. So you can see, have I used a conjunction? Pause the video to have a think. You spot it. And any other conjunctions? When he's bored, he brings his ball to me so he can play. How many points would I get? I would get 3 for and I'd get 3 for so. Got 2 conjunctions. What else did we say? Oh, expanded noun phrases. Do we have an expanded noun phrase? I think we might do. He wags his long fluffy tail. And how many points here? 3. Oh, I think I'm getting excited. Oh, I think conjunctions might have been 2, guys. I'm really sorry. I think conjunctions might have been 2. I have to go back and check. Commas in a list. Some of his favourite treats are carrots, dog biscuits, and most of all, he adores peanut butter. That's 3 more. I'm not going to count my capital S and full stops, but you could do that, and you could tell me how many points I've got, just so that you haven't forgotten. Here are some conjunctions. You've got because, so, if, or, when, but, and. We'd like you to use these conjunctions. If you can think of any more, that's fine. If you find it a bit tricky to remember them, you can use these conjunctions. Now, would you like to see Bruce? Let's see if we can find him. Here he is. He's laying down here. He's had a big long walk. Would you like to see me to biscuit? Here you go, Bruce. He's a very noisy eater. Here you go. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing all your work. Bye, Gaudi.